building or keeping people safe. So in a building like this, you have fire sprinklers, you have lights, plumbing, all the flooring, the painters, the people that come and install the whiteboards, the projectors, all of that. That's all done by somebody different. And I have to keep track of how many people are on site every day and what they are doing throughout the day. Not only do I have to keep track of what they're doing, but I have to make sure they're doing everything right. So I do a lot of quality control and make sure that not only what they're doing that day, but tomorrow, a week down the road, a month down the road, that they're all on the right schedule. And so every day, you can go ahead and turn on.
It's on.
Okay. Every day, the first thing I do when I get to work is I pull up my schedule, which we use Microsoft Project, and it will show absolutely everything from the first.
I don't know if your computer has driver for this projector.
Okay. Everything from the first shovel in the dirt to turning the building over to management. And there's over 1,000 lines, so on here, I know it's probably hard to see for some of you guys, but I have what's going on during the day, how long it's going to take per day, and then the dates it's supposed to happen. So every day I go through the whole schedule and write down what's supposed to happen that day, and then I walk the building and make sure everybody on site is doing what they're supposed to. So taking a computer class like this is really helpful because construction work is not just a hammer and a nail and a tape measure. It's definitely something I use, not every day, but once a week. But having this knowledge is very beneficial to you guys. So get to know your software, get to know your computers, because I work with a range of different age groups. I'm probably the youngest superintendent for my company, and they go up to maybe in their 60s. And so there's a lot of stuff that I know on the computer that a lot of them don't, and a lot of stuff that I can take care of. And so that makes me important in my job. That makes me needed for my job, which for me makes me feel good. So, but
Did you take classes to know all of this stuff, or did you teach a lot of it to yourself?
I took a computer class just like this in junior high. But as far as construction management, I didn't go to college for it. I just worked really hard growing up. My dad was a framer. I learned all the construction that I knew from him, and all of the I can frame a house all the way down to running equipment. I can run a big track hoe that you see digging dirt out of the ground for the house. I've also poured concrete. I've also painted a house and done the carpet and done all the doors and shelving and base and case. So in my career, I've done almost everything in construction other than electrical and plumbing. Which makes it really, really not easy because there's still a lot that I need to learn throughout the day, throughout the job. I'm not an expert on all of those. I just know a little bit here and there, which gives me the knowledge to help set people forth on what they need to get done.
And how about the computer programs that you use?
So the computer programs I use every day, I use Microsoft Project, which is our scheduling software. I use my email daily. And then I use OneNote, I use Excel, and Microsoft Word. There's a lot of letters I have to write. There's a lot of, we call them RFIs, which is a request for more information from our engineers and our designers. And then we have to schedule our inspections online through whatever city we're at. They'll have a different way of scheduling their inspectors, and we have to track all of that. So whatever inspector we have on site, throughout the project, there's different entities that we have to make sure the city passes off on. They do their quality check as we do ours. And so if it doesn't pass with the city, we don't move on. Right now down in Salt Lake, our hardest entity to pass is our fire department. They're very strict on what they require because their system saves lives, literally. And so they're very strict on what they want.
So did you teach yourself most of the software you know?
I did. The software I learned just by playing around, just by creating different things. I wasn't taught in a class how to use it. I did a lot of YouTubing. You can learn a lot from YouTube if you search for the right things. And then just by doing it, just figuring it out.
That's the point. The reason that I ask him that, you guys understand that, right? Because that's something we do in this class a lot. We pull up a new piece of software and we poke at it until we make it do what we want it to do.
Yep. There's 2D and 3D software that I found for free and ordered online and I was able to structure the house I grew up in. And that was all by just playing with it. And what that did for me is showed me not only what I could do from memory, from what I could remember, but what I could create just by finding it, which I think is a big deal. Let's see, what else do I use? I actually use Google Docs a lot and Google Sheets, so I can share any of the information I track. I have to be able to share with the other superintendents that are on site. I have 4 other superintendents that work with me because right now the building I'm on is 274 apartments, and I have to track each one of those every day. So I have to be able to share a lot of information with all the superintendents so they know what I'm doing and I know what they're doing. All 4 of us keep track of different parts of the job. So rather than all of it be on one person, we share that. So, any questions? Good.
So what's the difference between you and a general contractor?
So a general contractor is somebody we hire to do the work. The superintendent oversees what they do. At the beginning of a project, we'll send out a set of plans, and they will take those plans and look them over and send us a bid for the contract to do the work. If that general contractor comes up with the right number and the right verbiage in their contract, we'll choose them to do the work on our job site. Anybody else? Oh, come on.
These guys just finished, or are finishing, some of them have finished, doing a 3D floor, or a 2D and a 3D floor plan of their own houses.
Sorry, that's my painter. Wow, great. Okay, so what did you guys make in your homes? Did you build something that you lived in, or did you build something that you created?
That we're living in right now.
You're
our
living
houses.
in. Okay. So with that program, does it show them how they would build it? Like a list or just?
So far, no.
Okay,
It's
Okay.
just a straight floor plan.
okay. That's cool.
They've also done 3D modeling. Some of the software you probably use as well.
Yeah. Our designers use a lot of the 3D software, and so do the engineers. They use more of a detailed CAD program to where they can blow the building apart, separate everything and pull it all apart and move things around. And they can actually send us a material list breakdown of the whole building. We don't actually use their list, we look at our plans for that, but that goes into the plans to tell us how to build the building.
What's the hardest thing you have to deal with day to day?
Hardest thing, the schedule. Keeping everybody on track and keeping, making sure that the day-to-day will finish on the date that my management tells me to finish. My company not only builds the building, but we fund it and we run the apartments when they're all finished. So we are a builder-owner company. Not a lot of companies do that. They will have a bank fund the build and then have either sell it or have somebody else run the building for them. Which I find is actually pretty unique and kind of satisfying for the owners to see it go from dirt to finished product. And it's something that they can watch the residents live in and watch everything function, well, which they don't get to do very often.
So for a big apartment building like the ones you build, how long does it take from first shovel in the ground until you turn it over to the management?
For 274 units, it'll take a year and a half. When we get out of the ground into and through concrete and we're starting framing, we require the other contractors to give us 5 units a day, anywhere from 5 to 8 units, depending on the job site. So, but from floor to floor, it's about 8 weeks. So depending on how many floors you have, you add another 8 weeks, including the roof as a floor. So.
Okay. Any questions?
What's your favorite part of the job?
I love running equipment. But my favorite part is when somebody comes to me and asks a question on the plans, I'm able to find it and know where it's at and give them the information that they need to get the job done. I wish I would have brought a set of plans.
Well, that'd be cool.
I can bring an old set.
That would be fantastic.
Okay. I can leave them here with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Can do that.
Jacob, did you have a question, or were you just
Well, no.
exercising your fingers?
Yeah. Daily workout, you know? Okay.
Okay, what are some funny things that happen on your job?
So I was down in Orem, building a project, and I was walking a floor with the inspector, and it snowed that day, and the roof had been put on another building, and as I was walking with the inspector, basically an avalanche off the roof took out one of the workers on site. That was
funny.
That was funny, because I was in another building.
Wait,
He
kill him?
didn't get hurt, it wasn't heavy, it was just fluffy snow, but it was, we actually watched it, and the guy was walking down the sidewalk, and oh, it's gonna get him! Oh, it's gonna get him! And it sure as heck did.
Oh, also just like, oh, okay, you
So.
watch a person die, that's my thing to do.
No, if it was gonna hurt him, I would've said something.
That wouldn't have been a funny story.
Yeah. I
My
have,
thing every day, I mean,
a job site is a hazard. I have seen some accidents on site. I've seen people cut fingers off.
oh.
I've seen people fall off a roof. We take a lot of safety measures to keep people safe on the site. When they're on the roof, they have a harness that they're tied off to the roof with a fall protection system where if they do fall off, the harness will catch them and it actually stretches and slows the direct fall to their body. All of the handrails, like coming up the stairs, have to withstand at least 400 pounds of somebody running into it. So if somebody was to run into a handrail, it has to hold up to at least that. But what you gotta understand is, say somebody's falling off the roof, from the time they leave the roof to where the body comes to a rest, can hit anywhere from 25 to 3,000 pounds because of, one, of gravity, but two, of the point of acceleration from the body. Go ahead.
Have you ever seen anyone die?
No, I have
Shut
not.
up.
I have not, but my father has.
I have.
He watched somebody, have you ever seen the buildings that stand up a big concrete piece?
Yeah.
So he was on a project, on a ladder on the next piece over, and the braces gave way and there was somebody underneath and it completely smashed him.
Oh, yum.
Well, that's a quick way to go.
It was a quick way to go. There was no suffering on that one.
No.
Who'd you say yum?
I was also, when I was in high school in woodshop, we took a field trip out to R.C. Willie's cabinet shop that they used to have, and we were building doors for cabinets and watching them build theirs, and I watched a guy lose his whole arm up to his elbow in one of the machines.
Oh, I thought we were just saying something funny,
That one was gruesome.
It's like,
So
that's pretty gross.
let's see, what other funny have I seen?
Kiara, did you have a question?
And nobody loses their arms or their ears.
Go ahead.
Well, my brother, he was in a construction class and he cut off the tip of his pinky
Mhm.
in one of the machines, and they couldn't find the other part of it because it had sliced into so many pieces. And so it was just the tip of his pinky though. And so they had to put it into like a bandage and do it for like a month.
Mhm.
And so then it like eventually healed, but it's still like
Yep. There's a-
shorter and
yep.
like diagonal.
There's a lot of accidents that can happen on site. The most accidents that happen are on ladders from 6 feet or lower. OSHA, I've taken two of the classes I've taken is an OSHA 10-hour class and an OSHA 30-hour class is what I'm taking currently. But there's a lot of information that OSHA requires you to track and requires on site. And all of our superintendents have to know that information. Sorry, go ahead.
So speaking of like accidents and stuff at work, I was helping my dad because I went to his work with him, and this guy fell over and this huge pole went through his elbow. He like pulled it out and like his bone would come out of his arm and that.
That's exciting.
Accidents can be bad, and they can cost a lot of money, and they can you can lose a lot of life. I've had a lot of people get hurt in construction. I've also had a lot of people, known a lot of people to gain a lot of success through construction. I have never broken a bone. I have had many cuts and fractures, but I've never broken a bone.
I have never broken a bone, but somehow I
Any other questions, guys?
Put your hand down.
Have you seen anybody throw a shovel at somebody else?
That's a really dumb question. This is why we tell you to put your hand.
Okay,
Do you work in like an office or do you work on site?
I work on site. We have a job trailer that sits on site. And then so a lot of our projects don't have, we build from boundary line to boundary line, so we don't have any storage on site. And so once we get to a point where we don't have that room, we'll send the trailer away and we use one of the apartments as our office. Anybody else?
okay. Thank you.